Put yourself in these shoes. You're a newspaper publisher. You're an Orthodox Jew. Your father-in-law is, yes, Donald Trump. And when he sends a tweet that was widely perceived as anti-Semitic, you have to deal with the outrage from one of your own reporters. Welcome to the world of Jared Kushner. Like so many Donald Trump controversies, this one started with a tweet. Crooked Hillary, as he calls her. Money raining down behind her, with a prominent 6-point star calling her the most corrupt candidate ever. While Jewish groups called it blatantly anti-Semitic, Trump was having none of it.
It's a star. Have you all seen this? It's a star. And it actually looks like a sheriff's star, but I don't know. And behind it, they had money. Oh, but there's money behind it. So actually, they're racially profiling.
But not everyone was so dismissive. A reporter for the New York Observer, published by Trump's Jewish son-in-law, Jared Kushner, wrote an open letter to her boss, saying in part, "When you stand silent and smiling in the background, you're giving his most hateful supporters tacit approval." Kushner tried to tamp down the fire, describing the Donald Trump I know as one who is not an anti-Semite. Once again, Trump accused the media of blowing the whole thing out of proportion.
CNN won't talk about anything but the star. They say, it's the Star of David, all right? I have a son-in-law who's Jewish, Jared, who's a great guy. My daughter is Jewish. I have grandchildren that are Jewish, okay? And I love them.
Trump ultimately swapped the star for a circle, then deleted the thing altogether. And poof, it disappeared for him. But what about his son-in-law? Yeah, but like almost all these other, little brouhahas, this thing has seemed to disappear too. I may be a little naive. I did not think this was an intentional effort to put the Jewish star behind money. I mean, people have laughed me off the stage for saying that, but I didn't think it was intentional. But because they changed it instantly and put the circle in. And then they said, well, wait a minute, this is just toxic. But as for Jared Kushner, I mean, he probably should step aside as publisher of the New York Observer while he helps his father-in-law run for office. That would be my first advice to him. Then he wouldn't have been in this situation.
Whatever the intention of it wasn't Donald Trump who posted that tweet. It was a staffer.
Yeah.
I think that the correct criticism is not that this person was intentionally trying to be anti-Semitic. It's that the crowd of people who are around Donald Trump on Twitter that crowd is so filled with white supremacists and neo-Nazis that it was considered a perfectly normal thing to retweet a openly anti-Semitic and openly white supremacist Twitter account and take that image, and that was sort of just something that's in the background. And that was actually what Dana Schwartz's critique was in the piece, that it wasn't that Donald Trump is an anti-Semite. Yeah. It was that this campaign is being fueled by racist and anti-Semitic and hateful anger, and that the Trump campaign has done very little to push back against that. Instead, has sort of done what Trump did in that bizarre performance in Cincinnati, which is just sort of to go back and forth. Oh, we took it down. Oh, we shouldn't have taken it down. Everyone who has any dealings with Jared Kushner says he's a very nice guy. He gets, this is sort of the necessary problem that comes along with being Donald Trump's son-in-law.
And a publisher.
There's no way to get around that.
I love the fact that Donald Trump was just giving that most recent performance in front of all these stars with 5 points on them.
Exactly.
And then we switched to the American flags, of course, and then we switched to the 6-point star. I don't know either, but you're right. When it came from a neo-Nazi side, it does make you a little bit suspicious, and playing into the stereotypes with money and all that behind it, the whole thing. But I must say, kudos to the reporter who knew that she was going to basically write this piece and take it right to her boss, the publisher who writes it. But kudos to him, too, Kushner. He wrote quite a defense of his father-in-law, talking about his own relatives who had died in the Holocaust or just escaped the Holocaust, and told a story about a grandmother's sister running into a house and being caught and then sent off to die, and somebody else living in a hole in the forest for 3 years. So he certainly made a good argument saying, my Jewish heritage and anti-Semitism is very real to me, and I'm going to defend my father-in-law right down the drain. So the whole thing, I mean, it's just another Donald story, and there's so many Donald stories.
I think it's a bigger story than that for me.
You do?
I read it differently. First of all, I am amazed that he went to the relatives, the Holocaust. I mean, this guy has been out front about this. This This is his core. This is who he is. So my first thought was, I'm so sad for him that
Oh,
he
the
has
son-in-law.
twist-
The son-in-law.
Jared
Okay.
Kushner, that he has twisted himself into a pretzel to defend something that came from a white supremacist site. Case closed. Come on, Jared. At least acknowledge that's where it came from. If you want to say, I'm making an exception of my father-in-law, which is, let's go back and look at Spike Lee's movie when the white guy says to him, well, you're not like the other black people. I'm making an exception. That's essentially what he's saying. You're not like the other anti-Semites. I'm making an exception. And it's quite personal to him. This is his wife. This is his family. I get it. But daggone it. You know, she's right. Schwartz is right. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Jared.
Jared Kushner's defense did come across as quite eloquent, I should say, but it immediately blew up in his face because this has been this long-running family dispute within the Kushner family, and there are members of the Kushner family who are livid that he took these very personal stories about how some of their family members survived the Holocaust and used them in defense of Donald
Yeah.
Trump, who many members of the family despise. So it's going to be a very interesting
Thanksgiving?
get-together. Yes, later
Yeah,
this
I think
year.
it's very
election.
interesting right
Yeah.
now.